She's a poet, and she knows it. The current U.S. Poet Laureate, Tracy K. Smith, paid a visit to Warren County Community College last night. Historically, the work of female artists has not always made it to the national stage. That's why Lehigh University put together a special art exhibit called The Future is Female. Shalom. That's a Jewish greeting to say hello or goodbye. The word means peace. And in an effort to fight hate with love, the Jewish community here in Berks County is coming together just a week after the mass shooting at a Pittsburgh synagogue that left 11 people dead. Behind me is a stupa, Sanskrit for a monument that honors Buddha's wisdom and compassion. But believe it or not, I'm not in Tibet. This stupa is right here in Warren County. For everyone watching, today is the last day of Diwali. It's a day that celebrates love between siblings. So no quarreling over that last cookie this weekend, people. Coming up, an entertainment extra from the Arts and Culture Desk. Stay tuned. You don't want to miss a beat. I even got to try out some of the basic steps myself. So this comic with Spider-Man and Batman, this is really interesting because you have Marvel and DC. So how did that work?
Yeah, well, because I'm a freelancer, I actually usually work for both Marvel and DC separately at the same time. So they're competing companies, but they hire the same people.
If you're walking through downtown Phillipsburg, you might see Halloween-themed paintings like the one behind me. But why are they there? Now, if you're not sure about garlic in your ice cream, event organizers say there will be plenty of traditional Italian dishes to try. Just make sure to stock up on some mints. A group of ballerinas in Bethlehem Township are taking on 2 Christmas classics this weekend for their holiday showcase. We caught up with the troupe at practice for their How the Grinch Stole the Nutcracker show. Tchaikovsky's Miniature Overture. If you're a classical connoisseur, you know what that means. The time of year to watch the Nutcracker. But if you're interested in something a little different, you can watch The Grinch Who Stole the Nutcracker tomorrow at Willow Park Dance Academy. Again, The Grinch Who Stole the Nutcracker. How did you conceive this idea?
So every year I try to do a different story for our Christmas show, and it's always difficult to find ideas for Christmas. And The Grinch is a pretty familiar story, you see it a lot, and I'm just trying to decide how can I make that into a dance performance. And then I thought, wouldn't it be fun to bring those 2 dances together, or to bring the Grinch together with the Nutcracker?
We won't give too much away, but if you're wondering how the 2 combine, the storyline starts with ballerinas auditioning for the Nutcracker. Gracie Grinch auditions and doesn't make the team. The green creature turns into a green-eyed monster and tries to sabotage the whole dance drama.
There's certain things that the Grinch does to try and hinge the recital, so you should look for those little things. They're kind of noticeable because we kind of make them noticeable because it's part of the show, but you know, they're always fun to spot.
Specifically with the Grinch, what I found interesting was that it was very different from what we're used to seeing because she had to get into character. Were there any difficulties in trying to take her part out of the typical form of ballet?
It's always difficult to try to get dancers, especially younger dancers, to act while they're dancing. Usually they're thinking a lot about their steps, and it's difficult for them to say, well, while you're thinking of your steps, also you have to act. But like Layla, who plays the role of the Grinch, she has experience being in shows at her school as well. So that helps her be able to develop her character as well as remembering her dance steps.
It felt kind of like exciting because usually you have to stand in a B+, but now with Gracie Grinch, she doesn't really care because she's really lazy, so she could just stand like this and yeah.
Yeah, your inner sass comes out.
Yes.
But all of our performances here at Willow Park are all story ballets, so they get a lot of experience developing characters. I really like giving them each a part and letting them help tell the story.
I even got to learn some of the steps in the opening number for you to try at home. High fashion never goes out of style, and fashion designer Pamela Patak is always on top of the latest trends. Pamela, along with her husband Scott Hanna, live, work, and even teach from the comfort of their home in Riegelsville, Pennsylvania.
We were New Yorkers, my husband and I, who founded this school. We were New York City residents for a number of years. That's where we were trained and where we worked. And we wanted availability to New York, but we wanted a place where it was rural and beautiful and there was animals and nature and all the good stuff that you like.
Students from as far as Italy have called Pamela expressing interest in taking classes. She's even had a student from Texas State at a bed and breakfast for a semester. But some of her other students have full-time jobs in other fields and take evening or weekend classes to learn a new hobby.
The difference between our schooling here and a schooling you might get in New York and LA is the quietness and the rural atmosphere that we have here helps with concentration for the students, and the things that would be benefits in New York and LA, many of them we bring in for students. So for instance, the supplies and available textiles, I have a full textile room. So this is the fabric room.
Wow, so many colors. So where are you getting all these fabrics? Where are you sourcing it from?
I actually go into New York City. I go in and I order fabrics that have been handmade in places like India and France and Italy, Switzerland for some of the cottons. And I source as many unusual textiles as I can because I want the students to be able to learn from things that are the actual high-end couture level. These are all Chantilly laces. So these are all brought in from France. This is hand painted. This one's from India, and very, very tiny pearls are hand sewn on the intersections. There's embroidery of gold thread. There's hand painted gold circles, and this is a lightweight fabric. When you look at it, you can see it's almost transparent, and it's just this beautiful, stunning handwork.
She says another benefit of her classes is that students get to try classes out before moving out to larger cities with higher costs of living. Some of her students have transferred into the top 3 fashion schools in the U.S., Parsons, FIT, and Pratt Institute, all in New York City. Others have transferred to top 10 schools, such as Drexel, Savannah College of Art and Design, and FIDM in California.
What makes the students stronger and shining, as an example, when they're being looked at by a portfolio review at a big college in the world, is it's not just their hand skills. They can draw or they can sew. That's lovely. It has a lot to do with their temperament and their confidence. And what we look to do is find what are their strengths. So we put a lot of detailed time into questioning them and having them tell us.
Pamela teaches an array of classes from beginner to advanced levels. Some classes she will have in the spring include fashion illustration, sewing, pattern making, and draping. Pamela's experience ranges from the Paris haute couture scene to New York ready-to-wear, working with hardy material like leather to delicate fabrics like silk chiffon. She has even appeared on the TV show Project Runway.
Many of these are pieces that I've done for a few different magazines. One of them is Stitches, another one is Threads, and a couple pieces have been in Lehigh Valley Style. But if you look at them, they're highly decorative, detailed things. So this one happens to be a Chantilly lace that's all embroidered. The surface is beaded and embroidered and embellished by twisting and turning and hand stitching. Even the edges are all applique hand-stitched pieces. So you can see some of the pieces that I've shown you are here on the magazines, and that's one that was in Stitches, and there's some examples there. It's a lot of fun to make these outrageous pieces. You don't get a lot of people needing that degree of outrageousness, but I find that if they see how varied techniques can be, then they have an idea of, oh, you mean I can have anything? And I'm like, of course you can have anything.
I even got to play a little dress up myself and went for a princess look. So we've seen some of these clothes on the mannequins, and here it is on a person, right? So what goes into the fitting?
Well, in the fitting, you look at the measurements and the proportions of the girl, and then you want to do the like nipping in where it's flexible to nip in. You don't want to nip in where there's a rib cage because the ribs don't want to be squished, and you do want to breathe. So we only nip where it's soft and it's above the hip bones and below the ribs, and that's the area where you can take it in nice and snug and kind of reform where things go.
So going back to the skirt, what inspired you? It's different lengths.
It is all ups and downs. And this was for, especially for walking on a runway, it gives lots of movement when you have highs and lows all over the skirt. But it was also going with the little black details that are in the corset when you put that little element down below and the angles that are in the corset. The angles in the bottom kind of play with that.
Catwalk Here I Come in Regalsville, Pennsylvania. I'm Karishma Desai, PBS 39 News Tonight.